Hello to everyone watching. We're back for another season of Eurovision National Selection Reviews. And of course, we're going to start with the Czech Republic, who just had their final on Monday. 7 acts are competing to represent the Czech Republic in Malmö, and let's discuss them. Joining me today, it's Kyle, David, and Sophie. Let's start with the first act, which was Aiko with the song Pedestal.
Well, this had great energy. I will give it that. It was a real bang to the show. It certainly got the audience going. I even felt myself a bit, whoa, this is a lot going on. It felt like that she was having a great time. I loved the visuals of it. I thought that looked really good, and I loved the energy, like I said. Having said that, it was a bit of a hot mess. There was a lot going on, and it didn't feel like a, oh yeah, I'll vote for that one friendly type of song. It was more like a, oh whoa, that's a bit much. But you know what? It had great impact, and it did leave an impression on me, which you always want to do. Will it be the representative? I don't think it'll win, but you know what? It was a good addition to the show, and if it came on shuffle, I wouldn't skip it. So a good song, good start to the show.
Yeah, I more or less exactly agree with that. I was going to say exactly the same thing about it being a great show opener, really good energy. But I did find the performance just a little bit chaotic. I wasn't really sure what was going on half of the time. But I felt like the chorus was really good. I felt like by the end of the song, it was looping around in my head, and it was quite catchy. But yeah, overall, a little bit of a hot mess. And yeah, I don't think it's really got a chance, but it was, I think, a good addition to the lineup for sure.
Well, let's put that into points. Kyle?
6.
David?
Some songs are better left in the studio. I'll give it a 5.
Sophie?
I'll also give it a 5.
I'll also give it a 5. Next up, we have Elly with The Angel's Share.
I grew up loving kind of Florence and the Machine, the Ellie Jordans of the world, etc., all that kind of quirky indie girl music. And this song somehow just brings back to life all those memories of that music that I loved when I grew up, kind of my late teen years. So yeah, just really love it. I think it's melancholic. I love everything about it. To be honest, I love how it grows and builds throughout as the song goes. It starts as a pretty kind of standard ballad with a nice vocal, interesting vocal, and then the first chorus hits with production, and then the production never goes back to the start. It then kind of keeps ramping up and picking up. I was trying to think of what it could be compared to in terms of Eurovision songs, and I think the most similar song I could think of was Blanche's City Lights, in that kind of melodic ballady with a up-tempo backing to it. So I'm worried. I don't think it's going to win, but if it does win, then I think this would be really, really good and a really strong entry again for the Czech Republic. So I'm going to cross my fingers for the next week.
I can't follow that, but sorry, David. But I'll start with the positives. So I gotta say that Elly looked really gorgeous on that stage, and her vocals were completely on point. But when the song started, like, first I was thinking that, like, if this was like the 90s and this was Eurovision, this would probably be killing it, but not in 2024. But then when the chorus kicked in, the tempo went up a notch, and I have to admit that I did find myself tapping my foot to it. However, my issue with it is that the tempo changes during the song so many times that makes the song sound a little bit all over the place. But hey, at least it's a foot tapper. So yeah. Let's score The Angel's Share out of 10. David?
I'm going to give the song a 9.
Sophie?
I'm going to give the song a 6.
I'm going to give the song a 6 as well. Kyle?
I think this has got real potential. 9.
The third act of the night was Gianna Lei with her song Starlet.
Yeah, this probably wasn't the highlight of the night, I'll be honest, for me. It was probably my least favorite on studio. I thought it was okay. It didn't do much for me. It just felt a bit like, oh, well, it's there. And then we had an interesting live performance. I know she looked like she had fun and it went down well in the audience, but you know, be honest, vocally, it wasn't there. And the one thing I always say about a singer is that you should at least be able to sing your own song. I know people get nervous, but I just felt a bit bad for her because I don't think she would have put, you know, the best performance she'd want to forward. It was nice to have in the lineup. It was different, and that's something I think across the whole show. Every entry was very different, so I think that's a great positive. But yeah, for me, it was a bit of a low light on the show, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I sadly do agree. I think in terms of the studio, when I first heard it, I do like that kind of chill, loungy R&B type vibe. My one thing about any song, it doesn't matter if I like the artist, if I like the song, whatever, it doesn't matter who it is. I always want them to feel kind of happy with their performance and that they've gone on the stage and they kind of go home feeling, yeah, you might not win, but I've done a really good job. I've really given it my all. So I don't know, I get really like overly attached and I feel really bad for people when I feel like actually they probably came off the stage and probably cried. I've been there in the past as well. And I just hope that she can take kind of learnings from it. And I'm sure a lot of the vocal issues she had, because it wasn't good, sadly, were nerves. To be honest, she's a young girl. There's a lot of people there. It's high stakes and high pressure. And especially in the kind of acoustics and dynamics of a club environment stage, it's not a TV studio. It is very easy to not sound good, especially if you have any kind of dodginess in your in-ear or anything like that. So I just hope that she learns from this. And just builds her confidence and uses this as a platform. She will definitely get fans off of this. So yeah, I wish her all the best in the future, but it's not the one, I'm afraid.
Out of 10 for Starlet, Kyle?
4.
David?
I'm really sorry, but I'm going to give it a 3.
Sophie?
I'm also going to give it a 3.
3 for me as well. Next up, we have Lenny with Good Enough.
I was really excited to hear this one, actually. Even though Lenny's not an artist I've heard of, I know she's quite a big name in Czechia, so I was expecting big things. But unfortunately for me, I don't feel like the song really hit the mark. I think in the first kind of 30 seconds, I was intrigued by the chords and it sounded like it was going to go somewhere. But for me personally, it felt like it was building, but it never really got there. And I feel like for me, that's such an essential aspect of a good Eurovision song is when it builds to a climax and has its moment. Whereas I feel like the song kind of stagnated and was sort of the same thing throughout. That being said, her vocals were spot on. And it was a really good live performance. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but it could have a shot of winning. I think, especially with the Czech audience, she may win that vote. But as we know, it's 70% international vote, so I'm not 100% sure. But I wouldn't be 100% surprised if she did end up winning it.
I agree. There's just something really special about her vocal because as soon as she started singing, like I was absolutely mesmerized by it because her vocal is at the same time like very soft and gentle, but also very strong. And it kind of has like a husky feel to it as well. And like, I don't know, it just literally grabbed my attention from the very first moment. And I'm normally not such a big fan of ballads because for me to like a ballad, it really has to have something outstanding or to have that, I don't know, je ne sais quoi. But I think that her vocals absolutely did that for me. Like, I would have wanted it to be staged very differently to how it was done, as on screen it came across a little bit boring, but nevertheless, it's like quite a decent song. And as I mentioned, Lenny's vocals were the main ace for me here. And overall, it was more than good enough. I don't know. Let's score Lenny's song out of 10. Sophie?
I'm going to give it a 6.
I'll give it a 7. Kyle?
That in the middle, 5 for me.
David?
Beautiful Downs, I'll give it a 6.
We got the song 5, which is Red Flag Parade, performed by MYDY.
It's an interesting one. In the simplest of terms, it was a bit of a hot mess or a disaster kind of bop, but I think actually there was some charm in that. So I mean that completely as a huge compliment. I don't think I mean that in a bad way at all. It's also very, very similar to I had it in my head after the show last night, and then it kind of morphed in my head to I Want to Be Your Slave by Måneskin. And I was like singing this, well, I only know some lines of the song. I was singing it over and over again. It's like, hang on, why is that in my head? And the more I think about it, the more actually similar the two are in terms of beat and structure of the song. And I think it's got a really good chance. I think you can tell that she's an experienced veteran performer, clearly in her element on a stage in a club like that, performing to a crowd. Not my type of song and music personally, but I think that they are guaranteed a pretty good show with that, and that's what the Czech Republic have done really well in recent years. So not bad, but I know Sophie, you like it more than I do, so on to you.
I do. Weirdly, I completely get what you mean, and I've had the exact same thing today with both Red Flag Parade and Måneskin's I Want to Be Your Slave. Both have been circling around my head all day, and I'm not the biggest Måneskin fan at all, but I can see what you mean in terms of it being kind of similar rhythms, I guess. But yeah, I really love this one. I think the minute for me that they said in the interview with Caesar Sampson that it was like electro pop, glam rock, like just chaos, I knew it was going to be one for me. Weirdly, even though it was chaotic, for some reason I can see what they were trying to do, like conceptually, with they had their little band outfits on, and I can see that being scaled up to the Eurovision stage, and I can see it working really well. But yeah, I just think it was, like you said, chaos just done perfectly, and I really, really enjoyed it.
And chaos done perfectly to do well. Just look at Korea from Finland this year. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's got a good chance of winning the selection for sure.
Red Flag Parade out of 10. David?
Really good performance, good for the song. I'll give it a 6.
Sophie?
I give it a 7.
No red flags here. I'm going to give it a 9. Kyle?
I'm gonna go 8. This one.
Two to go. Next up, we have Tom Shawn with Dopamine Overdose. First of all, I'm not sure if any of you understood, but I didn't. Like, why did the dancers' clothes look so? Why did they look so sweaty in them? Like as soon as they stepped on the stage, like I didn't get that whatsoever. Both the song and the performance reminded me a little bit of Theo's from Melfest a couple of years ago, and I was never really a fan of Theo's, and I'm not really a fan of this one either, to be honest. It sounds to me like the most basic dance pop tune, boosted up a little bit to sound a little bit more modern than it truly is. Decently performed, but nothing outstanding. For me, this was just like, meh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got the impression that he maybe is a bit less experienced than a lot of the other performers. I think he looked good on camera when he was not really moving, but then I think the dancers kind of highlighted his lack of rhythm, if that doesn't sound too harsh. And there was a lot of just, this to camera, which was a bit much. I also found it really odd, the line about teriyaki. I was hearing it and I'm like, is he singing teriyaki? Oh, he is. Yes, sticky like teriyaki. Yeah, not a great lyric. You know what? It was fun. It was upbeat. I don't think he's, going to take the flag to Malmö, but yeah, it was good. A good studio track. I'm not sure if it really was the best live performance song, which we do get a lot of the time. But yeah, a good enough entry. Not to use a good enough pun again. Help. Yeah, nice, but yeah, move on.
Let's score this out of 10. I'll kick it off with a 4. Kyle?
I'll go 5.
David?
I actually quite liked it, so I'm going to give it a 7.
Sophie?
I'm also going to give it a 5.
Last but not least, it was Thomas Robin with Out of My Mind.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. I feel like similar with what I was saying about Lenny, the kind of first 30 seconds I was intrigued and it did feel like it was building to something, but then again, it didn't really go anywhere. I do think Tomas had a really interesting vocal, kind of quite like gravelly, which is quite interesting, and that added like a unique feel to it. But I think as a general package, it didn't stand out to me. And yeah, ironically, I don't think it's going to be staying in my mind for a long time.
Yeah, no, much the same. Honestly, I agree with Sophie. I like the song. I do like it. It's very kind of what I would listen to outside of Eurovision, with Tom Grennan's, your Lewis Capaldi's, your Key and the Crows, etc. I just don't think it all came together very well. I don't know. He had a very gravelly voice, and it was just a lot of growling and not much kind of melody in there, which was a bit tough. But I think he was, I don't know, he kept touching his ear, so I think he was having like in-ear problems as well last night on the stage, which is kind of tough luck. But yeah, no, okay. It was kind of just down the middle for me. Just yeah, it was good, but I probably won't rush to listen to it again.
I just have to add that I think that he had the worst sound mix of the night, because his voice was always either way too loud or way too quiet comparing to the music. So I kind of felt like, I don't know, he should have been given a second chance to perform and fix any sound issues that he might have had, but it is what it is. Let's score it out of 10. Sophie?
Yeah, straight down the middle for me. I'm going to give it a 5.
I'll go with 6. Kyle?
5.
David?
Same for me, it's a 5.
As you can see, we ended up with a tie on top, with Elly and MYDY being our favorites with 30 points each, followed by Lenny in 3rd place with 24. Now, this is all based on our personal thoughts and opinions, but let's try and predict who's going to win this year's ESCZ.
Yeah, I think that MYDY probably will be the one that takes the title. I think it had the most impact, particularly for the international viewers on a first listen, first watch. I think Lenny will probably win the Czech vote. Elly maybe second in both. But I think with the weight that the international vote has, I think that MYDY will take it out.
I'm still in my delusional Elly fan state, so I want Elly to win, and if I say it enough times, it might happen. But being completely honest with myself, I think MYDY will win with Red Flag Parade, and it was the best performance of the night, so fair play to them.
I think MYDY probably do have the best shot at winning. There's been so much buzz about them online, everybody's talking about them. I think they're leading in most of the kind of fan polls at the moment. And it is obviously a 70% international fan vote. So yeah, I think they're going to win, and I think they'd be a great representative. So yeah, hopefully, and fingers crossed.
I'm obviously not going to agree with David here, and I'm also going to jump on the MYDY train. I think the Czechs would be, well, in a way, fools not to send them to Eurovision because they clearly have the best package. And I just hope that the EBU is not going to really have an issue with the BEEEE. Thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments down below whether you agree or disagree with any of our thoughts and opinions. And also let us know who your personal favorite is and who you want to see represent the Czech Republic in Eurovision this year. And also visit ESCBubble.com and vote in our poll. We're also going to select our winner together with all of your votes. Thank you very much, Kyle, David, and Sophie, for joining me. And we're going to see all of you very soon with our next reaction video, which is going to be Malta. Bye, guys.